Have you ever received a call claiming Medicare-approved revolutionary oxygen equipment that could dramatically improve your breathing? Harold Peterson, an 81-year-old retired factory worker from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who had been struggling with COPD for 5 years, thought he was getting life-changing respiratory technology when medical equipment specialists called about breakthrough oxygen therapy devices. Within 3 weeks, he had paid $13,000 for fake breathing equipment that actually worsened his respiratory condition. Harold's story reveals how medical scammers target seniors with chronic respiratory conditions, using their desperate need for easier breathing as manipulation tools. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how these respiratory equipment fraudsters operate and learn the warning signs that could protect COPD patients and their families. Stay until the end because Harold's experience shows how fake medical devices can endanger respiratory patients while stealing money, making these scams uniquely dangerous among healthcare frauds. The Breathing Hope Call. It was a Friday morning in April when Harold's phone rang with a call that would offer hope before devastating his health. He had just finished his morning nebulizer treatment when his caller ID showed what appeared to be a medical supply company. Number: Mr. Peterson? This is Jennifer Mitchell from Advanced Respiratory Solutions. I'm calling because Medicare has approved specialized oxygen therapy equipment that could significantly improve your COPD symptoms and reduce your breathing difficulties. Harold's heart lifted with cautious optimism. After 5 years of declining lung function, constant shortness of breath, and increasing dependence on oxygen therapy, the possibility of better breathing equipment was incredibly appealing. Jennifer continued with impressive medical authority and respiratory terminology. We've developed breakthrough oxygen concentration technology specifically for severe COPD patients in your stage of disease progression. This specialized equipment uses advanced oxygen purification that's shown remarkable improvement in patients with similar respiratory limitations. Jennifer explained that Harold's name had come from Medicare's Respiratory Services database of COPD patients who qualified for this innovative home oxygen program. She spoke with authority about respiratory disease and seemed to understand the specific challenges. The system involves intensive oxygen therapy using specialized concentrators that deliver 99.9% pure oxygen with enhanced absorption technology. Many patients with severe COPD have reduced their rescue inhaler use by 80% through this approach. Building respiratory hope. Jennifer continued using impressive respiratory terminology that Harold found both hopeful and believable. She described lung function improvement and oxygen therapy with medical fluency that seemed legitimate. Your specific COPD pattern responds particularly well to our high-flow oxygen enhancement protocols. The advanced filtration system removes pollutants and allergens while delivering therapeutic oxygen concentrations. She explained that the program had been developed specifically for patients whose standard oxygen therapy had plateaued, but who still had potential for respiratory improvement. Harold had indeed felt frustrated that his current oxygen equipment seemed inadequate. Traditional oxygen concentrators often provide insufficient therapeutic benefit for advanced COPD. Our enhanced protocols can continue respiratory improvement even in patients with significant lung damage. Jennifer created appeal by explaining that Harold's industrial work background meant he understood the importance of proper equipment, and that his dedication to following respiratory treatments made him an ideal candidate. The program requires commitment to intensive oxygen therapy, but patients with your work ethic typically see the most dramatic breathing improvements. We've had COPD patients return to activities they thought were impossible. The insurance coverage promise. Jennifer explained that Harold's Medicare would fully cover the program, but the specialized nature required upfront payment that would be reimbursed once the oxygen therapy sessions were documented. Because this involves cutting-edge respiratory technology and specialized oxygen purification systems, Medicare requires prepayment to ensure patient compliance. Once we complete the initial phase and submit breathing improvement reports, Medicare reimburses the full $13,000. She provided Harold with specific Medicare respiratory codes that sounded official. Jennifer seemed to have detailed knowledge of respiratory insurance procedures and spoke with authority about oxygen therapy coverage. Consider the cost savings of improved breathing versus long-term hospitalization and emergency room visits. This program can restore your respiratory independence and quality of life. Jennifer created urgency by explaining that the program only accepted limited patients each month due to the intensive monitoring required, and Harold needed to secure his equipment before other COPD patients filled the available slots. We can only work with 8 patients per month because of the specialized equipment calibration requirements. You're fortunate that we have one opening left, but I need your commitment today. The payment pressure. Harold felt overwhelmed by the possibility of easier breathing and the fear of missing this opportunity. Jennifer had created such convincing hope that questioning the program seemed like accepting worsening respiratory decline. He agreed to participate. Jennifer guided him through the payment process, explaining that the respiratory equipment required wire transfer to secure his enrollment and ensure immediate delivery. Advanced oxygen purification requires specialized equipment procurement that can only be secured through immediate wire transfer payment. This is standard protocol for intensive respiratory therapy programs. At the wire transfer location, Harold hesitated when asked about the payment purpose. Jennifer, still on the phone, coached him to explain it was for Medicare-approved oxygen therapy equipment, which sounded legitimate. Harold sent $13,000, believing he was investing in dramatically improved breathing. Jennifer assured him that equipment would arrive within 1 week and provided detailed preparation instructions. You've made a life-changing decision. This respiratory program will restore breathing capacity you thought was lost forever. The dangerous equipment. The equipment that arrived at Harold's home appeared medical, but was actually modified industrial air purifiers with fake medical labeling. The devices looked sophisticated but lacked the safety features and medical certifications required for respiratory therapy. The fake oxygen concentrators produced irregular oxygen concentrations that were sometimes too low to be therapeutic and sometimes dangerously high. The unregulated equipment posed serious risks to someone with Harold's severe respiratory condition. Harold began using the equipment as instructed, following the provided therapy schedule that involved extended sessions with the fake concentrators. Initially, he attributed any unusual sensations to his body adjusting to improved oxygen therapy. Some patients experience adjustment symptoms as their respiratory system adapts to enhanced oxygen levels. Continue the prescribed therapy schedule for optimal results, the fake technicians told him when he called with concerns. After 10 days of using the dangerous equipment, Harold's breathing had actually worsened. His oxygen saturation levels were more unstable, his fatigue had increased, and he was experiencing new respiratory symptoms. The medical crisis. Harold's regular pulmonologist immediately recognized dangerous equipment when Harold brought the devices for evaluation during a routine appointment. His doctor was alarmed by the unregulated oxygen concentrators. These aren't legitimate medical devices. They're modified industrial equipment that could seriously harm someone with your respiratory condition. The oxygen output is completely unregulated and potentially dangerous. Harold's doctor explained that legitimate oxygen therapy equipment must meet strict medical safety standards. The devices Harold had been using could cause oxygen toxicity or dangerous drops in blood oxygen levels. Medical testing showed that the inappropriate equipment had destabilized Harold's respiratory status. His lung function measurements had declined, and his blood oxygen patterns showed dangerous irregularities. You need to stop using this equipment immediately. It's actually harming your respiratory system and could have caused a medical emergency. The investigation healthcare fraud investigators explained that Harold had been targeted by a sophisticated operation that focused on respiratory patients seeking better breathing equipment. The scammers used detailed COPD knowledge to create believable scenarios about breakthrough treatments. The investigation revealed that the same group had scammed dozens of COPD and asthma patients using similar fake oxygen therapy scenarios. They had stolen over $600,000 while potentially endangering lives through dangerous respiratory equipment. Police discovered that the scammers used fake medical credentials, modified industrial equipment designed to look medical, and detailed knowledge of respiratory benefits to create scenarios that appealed to patients' desperate need for easier breathing. Warning signs. Harold missed looking back. Harold identified several red flags he wished he had recognized. Unsolicited calls about breakthrough respiratory treatments. Legitimate medical equipment companies work through established healthcare referrals and don't make cold calls about revolutionary oxygen therapy. Upfront payment demands for Medicare-covered equipment. Real respiratory equipment providers process Medicare payments directly and never require patients to pay thousands upfront for covered treatments. Equipment delivery without proper medical evaluation. Legitimate oxygen therapy always involves comprehensive respiratory assessment by qualified professionals before any equipment changes. Pressure to begin intensive therapy immediately. Established respiratory programs allow time for consultation with existing pulmonologists before starting new oxygen protocols. The road to recovery. While Harold never recovered his $13,000, his respiratory condition gradually stabilized once he stopped using the dangerous fake equipment and returned to his prescribed oxygen therapy. His experience led to increased awareness about respiratory equipment scams in his community. Harold learned to verify all oxygen therapy offers through his established pulmonology team before agreeing to new equipment. He realized that legitimate respiratory advances are introduced through proper medical channels, not unsolicited sales calls. Most importantly, Harold discovered that sharing his experience with other COPD patients helped prevent additional victims who might have been harmed by dangerous fake respiratory equipment. Final thoughts. Harold's story demonstrates that respiratory equipment scams are uniquely dangerous because they can worsen life-threatening breathing conditions while stealing money. These criminals understand that COPD patients desperately want easier breathing and will risk significant money for equipment that promises respiratory improvement. The key lesson from Harold's experience is this: legitimate respiratory equipment is never sold through unsolicited phone calls requiring upfront payments. Real oxygen therapy is prescribed through established medical channels with proper evaluation. If you receive calls about revolutionary breathing equipment, discuss them with your existing pulmonology team before taking action. Never begin intensive oxygen therapy based solely on phone sales presentations, regardless of how medically sophisticated they sound. Remember, protecting your respiratory health means working with qualified medical professionals, not paying scammers who exploit breathing difficulties to sell dangerous fake equipment. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.